Since we last met, Trump has become president. We were talking about that a lot. There was a lot of excitement in the room. Is this congratulations?
Oh, yeah. I mean, this is an incredible moment for America, but I think it's congratulations every which way. I think the goodness that is coming out of America right now, I mean, the unbelievable transformation that we've had in a month. I mean, we are redoing all of the international agreements, right? And I'm happy to get into any of that stuff. And I think we're going to get to some culmination of the Russia-Ukraine thing. I think we're going to back Israel properly, not so that we have to send them troops or anything else, but just give them the support they need to get the hostages out, some of whom are American, even if you don't care about Israelis. End that thing. I think this idea of getting the Gazans out of there, send them, there's 50 some odd Muslim Arab nations, like get them out, go, fine, it's fine. But even all of the international stuff aside, everything we're doing with Doge, finding out that there's just billions and billions and probably trillions of dollars in waste, that things have gone to the most crazed activist agendas possible all over the world. We're uncovering everything. And the beauty of it, it's all being done on Twitter, on X every day. Yeah. They're just screenshotting. This is where your money went $7 million for a trans-Peruvian comic book. I mean, it's real. It's like there's crazy stuff. We're getting it out of the system. And I think partly what's happened here is things have been so crazy for so long. The woke thing just so cemented all of the wrong ideas in everyone's head for so long that people forgot that it doesn't have to be this way. And I think very quickly people are suddenly like, oh, you're allowed to have a border. That's not a controversial situation. You're allowed to have law and order in your cities. You're allowed to make sure that drug cartels can't start spreading fentanyl across the country. And a litany of things that everyone would have agreed on, 15, 20 years ago. There's a great viral video going around right now. Maybe you saw it. It's a 40-minute compilation of Barack Obama, Bill Clinton, Al Gore, and other Democrats of 20 years ago or so, all basically saying the same things that Doge is doing right now about government transparency and how to cut the bureaucratic nonsense and it's like, all right, guys, well, you guys said it and Donald Trump is doing it. So yes, congratulations go both ways, because I think all the goodness that is, if the Western world and Western ideals are going to be saved, America is going to be at the forefront. We're leading it right now. And a lot of that will trickle over here and really all over the globe.
That's interesting. Do you ever worry, and it's a depressingly British question, do you worry about the caps lock Trump tweets and the Elon Musk? Is that important? Does it matter?
No, I don't worry about him anymore. I don't worry about him anymore because you can't say to the guy who did the thing that everyone said couldn't be done, you can't say behave the way I want you to behave. I didn't even vote for Trump the first time. I didn't have Trump, I'm talking about 2016. I didn't have Trump derangement syndrome, but I didn't vote for him. I voted for Gary Johnson, who was the libertarian. I couldn't do Hillary. I really saw all the evil of what was going on with the Democrats, and I did not like her corruption. But I just couldn't quite get there on Trump yet. I just wasn't there. But I did do a video the day after the election, basically saying, hey, I'm going to see what happens here. That's how I'm going to judge this thing. I don't think he's Hitler. I don't think his supporters are Nazis. And I'm going to see. And if he does good things, I think that'll be great. And what I was always worried about with the left, the way they were being so hyperbolic around him, partly because of the tweets, I suppose, and some of the behaviors and jokes and whatever, which, by the way, he has controlled way more now. Oh, yeah. It's not out of his system altogether. He still does a little bit of it. But again, I don't think you can ask the master to just behave a little bit more like everybody else. Sure. You have to. He deserves that runway to do some of those things. But what I was concerned about was, if you call somebody Hitler and all their supporters Nazis and white supremacists and all those things, it's really not what you're doing to them that is the issue. It's what you're doing to yourself, because you're painting yourself in a corner. Because eventually, if you call them all Nazis and all of this other stuff and they're not, now you're in the corner. Because if you suddenly realize, boy, the economy's going pretty well and he's not governing based on race or any of these other ridiculous ideas, it's very tricky to get out of that corner now. Oh, yes, I was just kidding. He's not Hitler. So so I was always concerned about that. And I think that directly connects to why the left is so hysterical right now. My main concern about what's happening to the left now is that as the good liberals, or let's say the moderate liberals, the classical liberals, the RFKs, the Tulsis, you might include Joe Rogan or somebody like me, or even someone like Bill Maher, who's not quite there, but as the more moderate old school liberals, in essence, they're all now sort of Trump Republicans. They may not all be walking around with a laminated, Republican card, but in essence, they are. What you've been left with on the Democrat side is only identity politics. It's only hysteria. It's only the radicals. So their most moderate people right now, it's a guy like John Fetterman from Pennsylvania who literally a year ago had brain damage, and now he's starting to revert back to some of the lefty stuff. So that is a problem, because I think in most societies, pluralistic societies, you want that tension between the left and the right, the Democrats, Republicans, labor, conservatives, whatever you want to call it. And right now, we don't have that tension. I don't know how long that can last. I'd like to see how long it can last, because I think their ideas are terrible. And maybe the more moderate liberals can moderate the Republicans in wherever that should be. But that is going to be an ongoing experiment, and we'll see what happens.
I saw an interesting article by Thomas Chatterton Williams. He was saying that the sort of decade of virtue signaling is being replaced by vice signaling, and we're all sort of showing off that we're a bit naughty,
Right. Well, you can say retard again. You just can. I think we're not going to.
Let's see. If it gets demonetized, I'll cut that word, and I'll leave it in for now.
We'll leave it in for now. That's all I can ask. But the point, it's not even about that, or I made a joke about a midget on Gutfeld and they didn't bleep it. It's not that. You know me well enough. I'm not just saying things to just throw bombs. There are some people that are just trying to throw bombs every which way, but we became so afraid of language. I'm a child of the 80s. We used to say words like that, but it didn't mean, or it's the way people use the word gay now. They don't mean gay like it's like I'm trying to offend you because you sleep with a dude. They mean gay like you're ridiculous, you're a buffoon, you're a clown. That's just the way what the word meant back then. And by reclaiming some of this stuff, it also shows that we're not afraid of them anymore. And that's why I've been using these words more and more. It's not that I'm going out of my way to offend people, but I want to show people, stop placating to them. You give these people an inch, they will take a mile. Give me one instance where they ever were like, okay, you're good now. Yeah. It just doesn't happen. So I think you just have to keep putting those markers out and saying, hey, I'm gonna hit that and see what happens.
Do you listen to a lot of Eminem?
Eminem the rapper?
Yeah.
I like
midgets.
I like Frank Sinatra.
Because Eminem, he raps a lot about.
Does he rap a lot about midgets?
Yeah,
how did you guys never tell me that?
I listened because I thought, I haven't heard Eminem for 10 years, and he's got loads of new albums out the last few years. So I listened to the most recent one. Every other word is about midgets, trans stuff. The word, being able to say the word retard.
Yeah.
So all of the things you've just hit on.
Wow.
Every song.
So he has a real banger about retarded midgets. Is that what you're telling me?
Every single song is smashing against retarded midgets and deaf people.
Again, it was just a thing in the 80s. We had wrestling. We had midget wrestling. Midgets. Yeah. You'd have 8 midgets trying to take out Andre the Giant. It was incredible. Mm-hmm. And that's what we have to get back to.
You know what annoys me?
That's all I have to say.
As a kid, people would make little comments about me being a Jew, right? Yeah. They made and I didn't mind so much. But then we went into this really sensitive period where everyone was so sensitive about everything that then I became sensitive if people made jokes about me. Yeah. And I thought that was a horrible thing. And I think we are, as you said, we're coming out of that. And if people make jokes about me being a Jew now, it's funny. I can laugh.
Well, first off, the history of the Jews, I don't think I have to tell you, is a fairly painful, bloody history, but we're still here, right? And I think it was Mel Brooks who said that comedy is tragedy plus time. Maybe it was Oscar Wilde. Maybe it was somebody else. I'm not sure. Whoever it was a good one. And what's happened is it used to be like, okay, there was a tragedy. So let's say the Holocaust happened. And then Mel Brooks, a few years go by. And then Mel Brooks can make a whole bunch of great movies about it. Or you can do these sitcoms about it. Or Larry David can do Curb Your Enthusiasm, which has Holocaust jokes literally nonstop for 12 years. What's happened now is because of social media is comedy is tragedy plus time. Well, tragedy and time have basically become like this. So and I see this all the time. And this is where, you'll see something horrible happen. And my inkling as it's unfolding on Twitter will be like, what's the funny thing about this? some horrible, it could be a earthquake, it could be a terrorist attack. There's always something funny out there. But figuring out what that space is, that's also I would say that's a trick or a skill of someone that's in our business. You don't have to be a comedian for that, but someone that's a cultural critic or whatever one might want to call us, figuring out that space between okay, something horrible happened. We're all supposed to comment on that. But also if you do it through humor, you have a much better chance of not being killed. But I would say as far as the being offended part of all of this, it just doesn't matter. It would be so hard for me to be offended because someone said a word to me or whatever. I'm offended. That's not to say things don't bother me. Someone, every now and again, the New York Times or something will write some completely dishonest piece about me, and that will bother me, and I would love it to be corrected. Now it always seems fun to me, actually. It used to be in the day they'd write something bad about me and I'd be pissed for 3 days and whatever. Now I'm just like, look at you guys.